Oh yeah. Today is gonna be an interesting topic, no question about that. I was at on Salesforce, a national Black Block party today, and I was inspired along with the podcast I'm gonna be playing. So if you guys have been considering to do live streaming for lead generation and not sure if it's gonna work, let's talk about that. Let's see what we come up with. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining me today for Cocktails with Cello, episode 16, actually. So I just realized I got to change the number there, episode 16. So thank you very much for joining me today. This is an interesting topic. I live it personally when it pertains to, there you go, episode 16, season 2 for Cocktails with Cello. So thank you very much for joining me. I can see I got my audio playing fine, so we should be good to go. Now, I'm gonna get the details out the way. All opinions are solely my own and do not reflect the opinions of my employer. The reason why I bring that up is because I work for the second largest recycling and waste company in the nation. And hey, if we haven't met already, I don't know why we did it, but if we haven't, my name is Marcello Arcele. I provide recycling and waste services for businesses right here in Metro Atlanta, or like folks say here, Atlanta. My focus is industrial manufacturing and logistical organizations. My goal is to ensure that the waste and recycling solution in place is safe and reduces downtime. If that sounds like you and you need help, or you know someone, contact me directly at 678-683-9136. So thank you very much for joining me. Now, I want to let you know right now, if you're watching me on YouTube and everywhere else, thank you. But right now, it looks like that is not connecting right now on LinkedIn, so I apologize for that. So this is what I want to let you know. In the meantime, I want to thank you very much for watching the live stream. Now, in the meantime, I want to let you know also, today, I was actually inspired by two things. The first thing that I was inspired by was I joined a conversation sponsored by Salesforce. Many of you guys would know about this organization. And it was a fantastic event. It was over 4 hours long. I popped in and out whenever I got a chance, whenever I stopped having a discussion with a client and I was about to get back in the vehicle. Let me take a look, see what they're chatting about. And I made some fantastic connections there. And some of you are probably watching the stream right here as well. So now the other thing that, and the reason why I bring up the Salesforce is that one particular thing that stood out there was a gentleman named Isaac Hayes III. I've met him in passing right here in Metro Atlanta. And I've been in his space, and he's a very influential individual. He sponsored, or not sponsored, he has founded or co-founded a platform which allows creators to promote themselves. But the interesting part about that is he helps organizations or content creators get paid. Yeah. One thing that he mentioned which stood out to me and it blew my mind. He said, think about this. Beyonce, she has over 14 or maybe, about over 13 million followers. on Instagram. He mentioned, and it makes sense. He says these platforms, they throttle your access or how many people you can see. So given that said, he said, imagine this. If you compare to, she has more viewers or followers than the typical Super Bowl has on a given Sunday. So whenever she posts, based on the numbers that the Super Bowl charges for 30 seconds or a minute, she would get paid over $13 million per post. So not saying that we'll be able to make that kind of cash on per post, but think about how big that could be. And that's about lead generation and also personal branding. The other thing is there was a podcast from someone that I'm connected here on LinkedIn. His name is Ethan Beute, and the name of the episode is called the customer experience. On this episode, he had Dr. Cindy, and she was highlighting a few things in her book and also describing why we should promote our brand and not feel that is you being selfish. So given that said, let me bring in the episode, and you'll see what I'm talking about and how that piques your interest, and you'll definitely be subscribing to their podcast and also connected with Ethan and Dr. Cindy. Let me pause the music there for a minute. And now to lead into it, what he asked us, he asked every episode, asks his guest, what does customer experience mean to you? And this is what she says.
When I say customer experience, what does it mean to you?
Customer experience is me going through a journey that gives me a story to tell after I've experienced it. I have to walk out with something that I can talk about, that I will want to talk about. To me, that's customer experience.
Awesome. The remarkable quality is one that comes up a lot here. This idea of something worth talking about. I mean, that's it, right? Does it leave me with enough that I want to write the review or tell a friend, hopefully something positive? Because it could be remarkable in the other way. Really well done and super concise. What do you think is, just to kind of start opening this up, what is the relationship between customer experience and personal brand? Obviously, not every step or touch point of an experience involves another person. A lot of them do. I would argue, and I have argued on some shorter self episodes of this podcast, that the ones that involve other people have a greater impact and leave a stronger emotional resonance because we're fellow human beings. But in your mind, what is the relationship maybe between customer experience and a personal brand?
They're completely intertwined, in my opinion. And the reason for that is exactly what you just said. As humans, we're pack animals at the end of the day. We're trying to find an emotional connection. And that's partially what creates the impact on you from the experience to give you the story to tell. But it's usually that person or that individual that you're interacting with. So even, think about your dry cleaner. You go to a dry cleaner not because they just clean your clothes. There's 12 of those within a mile of your house. You go because you get 30 seconds of interaction with a human that makes you feel good, and then you walk out.
Yeah, it's so funny. It reminds me of when my...
And he's about to say something which is quite remarkable, and I'm sure a lot of you guys experience this. And I want to give a shout out right now to my lady, the one that keeps me accountable for what I need to be doing. Thank you very much for this. I got my lady, Yolanda Chin, is in the building. There you go. Hey, what's going on? Thank you very much for stopping by. Thank you very much for your support. Yeah, it's day 16. Can you believe that? We're almost done on LEDA. And let me touch on that. That's the initiative is through my folks in Ecamm. And what they've challenged folks is to go live every single day in August. So definitely shout out to my folks there in Ecamm. Let me put that Ecamm. There you go. All right. And yeah, Yolanda, that's a lot of cash. So imagine that. If you did this as a side hustle. Yeah, so let me let this gentleman play this.
My wife officially on both of our behalves changed our primary grocery store because she got tired of going in there and being made to feel like she was an inconvenience to the people around her, whether it was the cashier or the person in the aisle or somebody else. Is just I just don't feel welcome here, which is to say nothing of like there were some physical setting issues as well. But the people were like, she was made to feel as if they couldn't care less that she was there and that she was a bit of an inconvenience. She's like, I'm finally done. And so now we drive 8 extra minutes out of our right? Because there are grocery stores all over. In any case, do you buy that argument about human to human moments and emotional resonance? Like, how does that impact a brand perception, personal brand or corporate brand?
So I think that's everything. And that's partially why I wanted to write this book, because I think people have to recognize they do have that brand, whether they know it or not. And it's impacting not only their own success in life, but the success of the company brand. And the company brand and self-brand, we can talk about that. But truly, I do think it's about that human interaction and that impact that you have, because that's the connection you end up having. And it's funny, you're saying you moved your grocery store to a different one. The dry cleaner, I drive to my old neighborhood for the same reason. And I find parking in the city and I go in, and their hours are not great, and I still do.
I wonder, the folks that are watching this on the live stream and also on the replay, let me know, what do you go out of your way to do now? It could be anything. It could be to, Whole Foods. It could be to the gym. I wonder, what business are you still connected with if it's out of your neighborhood? Or maybe are you even still doing business with a business online just because of service or price? Just curious to know, and why? Let me know.
Because it was that impact, that human connection piece. And I think that actually is really what we're seeking. And even electronically, we're seeking that. So even if you're chatting, we're doing that. There is that human impact. And we've all seen, chats that go viral on the internet because they're funny and they're interactive, but it's still that human connection, still that piece.
Yeah. Let's go at least briefly. It might come up again. I actually pulled a quote out of chat.
And now, before I continue with the podcast, because I highly recommend you to listen to the entire podcast, and I'll play a few more clips. And this is going to be a short episode because anyone that's watching this live, know that it's 12:12 a.m. But I started it on day 16. I still have a 9 to 5. I have work to do, and I have to do the AKA. Ironically, update my Salesforce. So, duty calls. But definitely connect with Ethan Beute and also the doctor that's sharing her insight. And also subscribe to the podcast if this is the kind of dialogue or topic that you like. But this is why I do the live streaming that I do, or why I do live streaming. Is because it's how I call it. It allows me to organically bump into either my existing customers, right? Because they may wanted to send me an email. They wanted to touch base, or they forgot to do that. Or maybe they said, I don't want to bother Marcello. I'll call customer service. But then I bump into them in their stream and they say, oh, you know what? Let me reach out to him. He maybe can help me out. Customer experience. There you go. They remember how I made them feel. And this is why they'll reach out to me. Or you and I are working on a proposal for your new location, and you know that you have to get that paperwork back to me. I'll come up in your stream. Chances are it reminds you that you need to get that paperwork back to me, or better yet, that you have a question, or we need to revisit, whatever it might be. It's another way that you could touch and reach out to someone and stay relevant. And then lastly, talking about relevance. What about someone you already did business with? The services is already installed, or it's a transactional experience, is from A to B, and that's usually it. But then that person, your previous customer or client, in this case, that's why I rather call them. They find out that someone needs your service, but he or she is like, gosh, I can't remember their name. And you come up in their stream. Now you have a referral from someone that loved your service, loved you as a person. This is why I do the live streaming. I'm very rarely talking about trash. So consider that for yourself. I see we have Yolanda saying, here we go. She says, Trader Joe's. That's what she was talking about. This is what she's suggesting the experience that she has. Let's see what she talks about. Let me bring it down a little bit smaller so you can see the whole thing here. She says the workers are friendly and their prices are reasonable. Did you see what she said? The first thing was about the experience. Price was secondary. Yes, I understand price is a factor. I understand that. Trust me, I do. And at the end of the day, price is a big factor. But however, if you don't have a great experience, why should they do business with you? Why should they interact with you? Why should they talk to you? I know that's how I feel. All right. Let's say thank you, Jan. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I hope you feel what I'm conveying. This is how I feel. I personally take pride in the interactions that I have with the people that I do business with on a daily basis. And even if you don't do business, and I've said this time and time again, consider me as a resource. Okay, let's continue with a little bit more of the episode.
Chapter 5, because I think it's so interesting. I feel like it's really timely. I think it's related to some of the work that I do with the title of a chief evangelist. And the quote is, part of this new focus on employees' personal brands comes from a shift in consumer behavior. So I would love for you to take on the front half and the back half of that a little bit. Like, I know you've been hired to help companies develop personal brands, among a variety of other things that you help companies with, help develop, this process that I think you've packaged into the book really nicely. But personal brands relative to company brands, why does the company care? Why are maybe some companies resistant? And then, so that's the first half. And then the back half is this shift in consumer behavior. Like, why does this matter more now than before, if we didn't already cover it?
Okay, after this section, we'll and we'll wrap up, and I'll give you my final thoughts on this topic. And I encourage you to consider this for yourself. And even if it's not even about, I know the topic is called lead generation. What about continue relationship via live streaming? Whatever way you want to label it. Consider live streaming. That's one aspect. And if you don't want to do live streaming, guess what? Just record it on a video, right? A lot of these platforms are free. I'm using Ecamm. It's a paid. And if you're watching this, some of the stuff that I've done before requires a pro plan. So yes, I signed up for it out of my own pocket. But you don't have to. You can record it on your cell phone and upload it via StreamYard, Restream, and you can go live streaming or just post it. But consider this. I highly recommend that. All right.
So let's flip them, because the back is actually what makes it happen. Okay. So we live in a peer review society now. In 5 seconds, I can tell my Twitterverse exactly what I think of whatever experience I just had. Mm-hmm. And so they become more intertwined now because of that piece.
I'm curious, and I'm wondering if this happens within your organization. I know many organizations rely on this. Google reviews. Let me know in the comments. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up in the comments if your organization relies on Google reviews or reviews in general. Has your company said, hey, can you reach out to your existing client base or someone that you just did business with and ask them, hey, do you mind posting a review? Think about that.
Because the world is very small. I mean, think about anything you've done in your life in the last week. There was some peer review aspect to it. Truly, it was either somebody told you that restaurant was good, or you saw a sign saw that somebody respected that, or there was some piece where there was a piece of influence. So that's the first thing is I think that.
I'm sorry. I lied. I got some more to say. And, I'll say it after this clip.
Makes the world very, very small, which companies are now responding to, because they're recognizing that every person in their organization is an evangelist for that brand, whether they recognize it or not. And I would argue that every job really is a sales job, but that's another day. But truly helping them to embrace their brand and develop it. And that's what we do. You know, when I go into organizations and I'm helping them, they're recognizing that it's no longer bringing everyone to sameness in an organization. It's elevating different ideas, different experiences to make it stronger, because your customer base is more diverse. Your customer base is shifted. And so helping them to really own their magic that they bring to the world, I call it superpowers, but your superpowers that you bring, that the companies are recognizing, that's a good thing for them.
So
there you go. So a lot of these companies realize that their frontline employees ultimately makes or breaks them. It goes back to what I said about the Google reviews, or any kind of reviews for that matter. So I had two things to cover there. Hopefully I can remember the first one. But I definitely think about one thing that I thought about. Think about companies, Coke and Pepsi. We all heard of them, right? If you drink soda, and gosh, not even soda, if you drink any kind of beverage that you have to buy, why do you think that Coke and Pepsi, they historically had a battle, or have a battle? Regardless of what brand you prefer, the reason why they advertise so strongly is because they want to influence your next purchasing decision. We all been to restaurants and you say, hey, can I get a Coke? And what they say, a Pepsi, right? And what do you say? Yes or no? Chances are, if you saw a commercial that influenced you, you might say yes. And that's what they want. And hopefully you stay as a future customer. So that's something to consider. Yeah, that's the key thing. I can't remember the second thing I wanted to say. I'll probably put it in the comments, but I challenge you guys to consider that. Why you should consider doing this. And you know what? If you don't know how to do it, I still don't know how to do it. I'm learning every single day. I highly recommend you to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help. I'm learning. We're gonna learn together. Yeah, this might look nice, but at the end of the day, you don't need this. Okay, you just need the passion, which you already have, and articulating the message you want. Miss Chin says, yes, frontline employees are vital to an organization. That's the key thing. They know this. You should believe it yourself. So consider this. If you do a good job in personal branding, maybe you could consider something else. Maybe something within the organization. The company sees you. They see that you're proud of working with them and representing the company. They might see you differently. At the end of the day, and I wrap up my episode with this, when you're not in the room, what are they saying about you? Are they saying, oh yeah, and I'll tell you right now, this is exactly what they've told me when I've gone to meetings and I've met people at national events. They say, oh, hey, Marcello, how are you? Never met the person. And they say, you're the guy, you're the LinkedIn guy. But they have a big smile because that is how I made them feel. So consider that. So again, my name is Marcello Arcele. I want to thank you so much for joining me today for Cocktails with Cello. I can't stress it enough. I can't not do this without you. I thank you very much for tuning in, watching. Big shout out to my lady, Yolanda. She's my ace boon coon. And big applause to her. Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you very much for your support. And everyone that's watching on the replay and the live, thank you. Take care and see you tomorrow.